Broadcasting from the Teddy Belanger Memorial Studio in Rome, New York. Welcome into episode 100 of the Avetts and Beyond. My name is Todd Emanuele. Got Ryan Boyles alongside of me here as always, and it's a monumental show. 100 episodes. We went big. We were going to go big or go home, and we went big. And we brought in original member of the Avett Brothers, Bob Crawford is here. Bob, thank you so much for coming on with us.
Happy to be here with you guys. Appreciate all you do.
Thank you. I mean, that's cool to hear. I appreciate you being gracious with your time. I know you're busy. All you guys are busy in between tour stops right now, but you got a lot of family stuff going on, I'm sure, as always. And we just appreciate you coming on with us. So let me start with this. You're a big history guy. Let's go back in time. Take me back to when Bob was little Bob, and you're sitting there 5, 10 years old. I don't know how old, but tell me what you were listening to music wise. This is a two-part question.
Sure.
Music you were listening to, and when you realized that music would end up being your job, your life.
Well, the second part of it is I didn't realize it until Scott and Seth and I till we booked that first tour. Maybe till we played that first Merle Fest in 2004.
Oh wow!
You know, we were driving around in 2002 or 3, and I had grad school. I had been accepted to graduate school, and Scott had been accepted to graduate school, and our little pact was for Scott and I was if we get Merle Fest, we're not going to go to grad school.
Wow!
And so that
a fork in the road, literally.
That was the fork in the road, and because you can always go back to grad school.
Right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like, you know, Athens, Ohio University is still there, as far as I know. So
sure.
it's I could go back tomorrow if I had to, or if I wanted to, or whatever. So yeah, that was that fork in the road, like the way you put that. But then I am in such a nostalgic. I don't know if this is like being 54 years old, or if this is normal or just where I am, but I am so locked into and nostalgic for the music I loved as a child and as a teen.
Right.
That really 82, 83, 84, 85. I just, either that was the greatest period of music in the history of humanity, or I'm just nostalgic for being 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, because that was magic. That time before that, it was always loved music. My parents, they were married, I think, in 1961. Their period was the 50s. And so I grew up with the Everly Brothers and the sock hop music, and watching Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley, and my parents being like, this is what it was like when we were young. This is the music we loved. So that was big. And they played the music, that sock hop music that was in our house a lot. And so I, connected with that music at a very early age. Beach Boys, Beatles, whatever it was, I just was always loved the music, And 12 birthday, got a boombox with the two, maybe that was single cassette, maybe it was double, it was an Emerson.
Love that dual cassette.
Dual cassette, and got a couple. I got Jay Giles Band.
Nice.
Freeze Frame, so you can look at the year that came out, because that's when I got that. That was
great
new.
Song.
I got that cassette, and then I got a blank cassette, a Memorex, and like 60-minute Memorex, and I would sit there and record my favorite songs. As they came. You didn't have the beginning of any song, right? You missed every beginning, the first couple bars or beats of a song, you missed it, but it was it was just and it was magic at the time. You just were experiencing the magic of music, and it's magic to go back and think about it. But radio that in those years was incredible. It was like the same station. They played the Go-Go's, and it was Michael Jackson, the Go-Go's, Talking Heads, but then it's like George Benson. It's like everything was just to get all the music was together, and so Al
So
Jarreau. I mean,
different, so different than
it's
now.
so, and I talk to my son about it, or I try to, he just experiences music. Kids these days, my son's like 14, and so kids experience music differently. And for me, music was the biggest thing. It was like posters on the wall and magazine, tacked all over the wall, and it was just, I lived in my room with music. Like
Same.
that's it was just this magical time, and it's just different for kids now.
Yeah.
Like it was
You remember
different.
that first cassette tape? Like I
Oh
had the Beastie
God.
Boys cassette
Yeah.
tape. I had like Bobby Brown, all those.
And my sister had Billy Joel Glass Houses,
Nice.
which when you were asking, for a couple songs, I was so close to picking Don't Ask Me Why, which is on that, which isn't like one of the hits, but
Mhm.
That's a classic.
I listen to that record now. I listen to it, and it is just so ingrained in my DNA. It just really truly is. Like if I have dementia and experience that, they say people remember the music from a certain time in their life, and it tends to be that preteen time, like the research has shown. And these are the songs that I just will know every word to. I don't
That's what
know.
wires your brain. That's what
It wires
I
your
think.
brains.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I don't know the words to most of the Avett Brothers songs. I mean, I do know them, but I don't know them. And because it's funny, years ago, we played a game probably for social media, like that Joe was running, where he would state the beginning of a line and we would have to finish the line. And I couldn't do any of it. And I think the guys struggled just out of context with some of it, but these songs, Huey Lewis and the News, or Men at Work, or I mean, any of it, I can like, if we were doing trivia night, I would kill it. I would just kill it.
Well, speaking of killing it, can I
Sure.
just say that, like, when you and Seth performed the other night in Richmond,
Yeah.
the Billy Joel song,
Sure, it was great. It's great fun.
that was one of the, like, I was like, Bob is like, you were in your groove doing that.
Oh, you know why? Because I don't think we ever did it. He did it for a video.
Yeah.
But because we did the operator, and like this was going to be the next one. And it was years ago that it was going to be the next one. And we had gone through it a little bit, but we never got that far with it. And I'm due for a new one.
Yeah.
And so when this came up, because it was for Nikki's 200th show or whatever it was.
Right.
And so when Seth said, yeah, I want you to, I want us to do this. And so then I worked on it for a few days, and it was really fun to work on. And, anything new, I got to just say, anything new is just so much fun. Like to work on, to learn, you get into the muscle memory of the older stuff, and it's great. But some of the wiring of the brain and neuroplasticity and the synapses, like when you're learning something new, it's always so exciting and so fun.
Can I ask
geeky.
you if you'll indulge us with the story behind spinning your bass during paranoia?
Yeah, I did.
Is that like a thing that you've always done?
I always did it. I always did it. Yeah. And from the moment, and I think I probably did it one time, and people cheered, and it was just like with the mouse, with the getting the food, hitting the button in the thing. And I probably I trained myself to just do it almost every time. And now sometimes I won't do it, and I'll go, oh man, I didn't do that. And and I like that. It was the simplest. It was just that basic.
There you go. So when you first started playing bass, is the history or the story from May It Last true, that you really never played it before? And did you teach yourself how to play it, or were you trained?
I played bass actually playing bass started me on the whole journey because there was a band in my high school. I was a freshman, maybe even 8th grade. I think I was a freshman. And then there was like this band that was it was like the only band at the time in my school. And they were all seniors or out of school. And they needed a bass player. And I was dating the guitar player's sister. And they just liked me. So they were like, "Hey, can you play bass? Do you want to do that?" And I couldn't do it. And I literally couldn't do it because they were, after a couple of weeks, they were like, it's just not working. We're gonna bring back the guy we had, and we're sorry. You're a good kid though, So then I got the taste and the hunger.
That like you viewed that as a challenge. You had to step
I
up.
did. You know what? It really was. It was part teenage being crushed as a teenager, like experiencing this.
I don't mean to laugh at that. I'm sorry.
No, but please laugh away, because you look back on it and it's like, look, yeah, like I could just, I look at my kids and I as you get older and you forget what things feel like at a certain age, and things feel different. And so like when I'm speaking to them, I have to remind myself, and half the time I don't remind myself, but like, how is this being heard in that little brain, and I don't mean little brain, but I mean younger brain.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
At this time of amazing development. And so anyway, it was crushing for me at the time. And I hadn't had many crushing things in my life, thank God, by that point, but it lit a fire that I need to redeem this.
See, that's cool, because a lot of people, I think, that would happen to, and they would go the other way and be like, "I'm never touching bass again. I'm never doing this again."
Right. There's
So
and
give yourself credit for.
and it
having
wasn't
that fire in
bass, and it was guitar. At the time, it was because I was maybe just starting guitar lessons,
you.
and they figured I could do it, but I couldn't do. It was a rhythm that got me.
Different thing, yeah.
Yeah. And so then I just kept on with the guitar studies, and that kind of put me on my path. And I didn't play bass again until Scott and Seth.
That media play parking lot, and the
Media
rest
play
is
parking lot.
history.
Yeah, and I had been playing for like a month or two prior to that. So
That's
but yes,
still
Well,
funny.
that story is largely true.
Wow. Well, Todd, I think you should ask. I think this is a perfect segue to ask the Ray Charles question from.
Oh, okay. I was going to
Todd,
ask
okay.
one of the other questions, but that's a good one. I have some fan questions, and I think Tim Mossberger,
Of course,
the archivist for the
Yes.
Avetts brothers.
Yes,
And he sent me an awesome question to ask.
he knows more than any of us.
Oh my gosh! Except
He
maybe
might know
Sven
all the lyrics.
with the lyrics.
I would say, except for Dane, but Dane won't talk. But he probably knows as much as
He just knows where the bodies are buried. Yeah.
Well,
He said-
yeah. Well, he he carried the shovel to bury
Yep.
them.
All right, let's not go further with that. We don't need to
It's a joke.
incriminate him here.
Yes,
Well, let me ask you this. This is from Tim. He says, when Ray Charles recorded I Got a Woman, he finally found his sound, the sound for his band that he had been searching for. He said, is there an early Avetts song that once you played it or recorded it, you felt this is the sound of the Avett brothers? We got something here. It's a good question.
I think early on, when we were just before we recorded Country Was, it was Pretty Girl from Matthews. When
Wow.
we were practicing in a coffee shop in Charlotte, down by where the Panther Stadium is now. I don't know if the building's still there, but Scott and Seth had a friend, and they owned the building. They had the coffee shop, and there was a period of time where we would go there and practice. And they pulled that song out, and they didn't, as I recall, they were just like not super hot on it. Were there, but I was like, when I was like, that's great. And they're like, really? I was like, yeah, it's great. And because that song, I think, kind of personified that moment. It was what this is going to be.
Yeah.
At that moment. So I would have to say it was that. It was that. And then I think the sound was defined probably more fully defined in Carolina Jubilee. I think that album offers the breadth and of the complexity with the rocking and the sweet, so I think that's where I would say.
And more
When you
Pretty
look back,
Girls came along.
More
yeah,
Pretty Girl
right.
songs. Yeah.
You look back on, going back to those albums and then like to the newest album, you guys have evolved a lot musically. Uh, how do you think that changes over time? Like the feeling of the music and what they write and how it sounds.
We played in Huntsville. I spoke with someone who works in our organization a few days after that, and someone who works on the business side. And so she doesn't see us but a couple times a year perform. And she's like, that was a classic Avett Brothers show. That was getting back to, you guys got back to something. And I've sensed that this year. It's feel like we're kind of returning to something, very, very organically returning to something. And so how the sound, you're asking about how the sound has changed over the years.
Right.
And yes, it has evolved as far as instrumentation, and it's certainly evolved as far as personnel goes. And so, you have to think there's an essence, a thread that goes through it all, that is present in all of it. But I think I may have lost your original question in thinking about this. Can
That's
you
okay.
repeat it?
It
Well,
evolves.
I don't know if I remember my original question.
It's
How has the
I
sound
think that's
evolved over
the
the
answer.
years?
yeah,
It,
I
e-
mean,
it evolves, period.
yeah, it just constant. It's constantly evolving, But I guess what I'm trying to do in my head is think about where it hasn't changed, right? Think about the ways
That's a
in
good
which
point.
it hasn't evolved or hasn't changed. And we could be tricky with ourselves with the word evolved. That could, that might not be the right word, but it's definitely developed over time. And of course we've developed over time. We've developed our skills,
Sure.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
we always worked up to our ability. And that the abilities probably changed just for the 10,000 hours on the instrument, that changes everything.
Not as much
Yeah.
screaming anymore either, which
No,
I get.
yeah, not as much screaming, not as much stomping. I think those guys
Yeah.
have blown out their knees, but
Yep.
yeah.
Well, can you
So
tell us? Another, I guess another band you played with. It's called Over Mountain Men. Do you have anything you want to say about that? Or I would love for you to talk
David
about David
Childers.
as well.
Well, let me just say a couple things on the David Childers side of it. My deep love and affection, and David is one of the great North Carolina singer-songwriters of all time. There's no doubt about it.
Agreed.
He has always been a shining star for our state. And to see him get some of the recognition that he deserves much more. But his catalog is second to none. I mean, it stands up with anybody else you want to bring in that world. To me, he stands up to all of it, and deserves to be much more widely recognized, and his songs deserve to be played by a great, by a mass of songwriters. And I only hope at some point that his songs can be heard and recognized so they can be sung and celebrated, and because they are worthy. And he has created, the characters in the world that he created is every bit as potent as the characters in the world that we recreated. He does his more expertise is more creating the character to deliver the message, where I think Scott and Seth, it's always more intimate and more personal. It's like, it's me, but David, it's like, it's this guy and he's been through this and he's doing this and he's a scoundrel or he's a ne'er-do-well or he's not, or he's a saint or he's a sinner. So yeah, I can't say enough about David, and it was love of history that brought David and I together to do that. About the Over Mountain Men, I had the opportunity to see a preview of Ken Burns's 250th, the Revolutionary War series that's coming out in November, and I saw like the segment on the Over Mountain Men, and it's incredible and made me just so proud. And that was Robert Childers, David's son, who plays drums, who's also incredibly talented. When we were in the studio recording that what would be the Over Mountain Men, he's like, we should call it the Over Mountain Men, and so that was perfect.
That's amazing.
That is cool.
You're a part. So Over Mountain Men, there's a song I think y'all recorded called "Rambling Door to Door." That was a Christmas song.
Christmas song, yeah.
I cannot take that off repeat. It just gets in my head every December, and I can't remove it.
Well, there's an album that David did, Madonna and the Rose, which is a Christmas album.
Okay.
And by the Cormants, Black Cormants. I'll look it up and I'm
writing it down.
I'll send it to you. Madonna and the Rose, David Childers. I think it is now on iTunes.
I always create a Christmas mixtape every year, just old school, and
you will love it because
that would be great.
They're like good King Wenceslas, and you're gonna love it. It's really, it's magic, and that it is my favorite Christmas album.
So you mentioned, David getting some recognition finally. We have to mention that he's being inducted into the North Carolina Music Hall of Fame now.
Yes.
How cool! I mean, we've already touched on it a little bit, but expand on it. How cool is that? And it's the start of that recognition that he deserves.
Right. It's about damn time, and it's deserved, and yeah. He is North Carolina, and so it's only fitting that he be there. It wouldn't be the Hall of Fame without him, for sure.
That's perfect. That's exactly what I've been saying to him for 2 years. He's come on. He's been on my show 3 times, and I keep asking him and bugging him about the North Carolina Music Hall of Fame. So to see it happen was really cool.
Yeah.
And Ryan and I are actually going to be down there for the induction, so I can't wait to.
I hope to be there as well. I hope to be there as well.
Awesome, but very just perfect the way it worked out this year. It's been a rough year for him, and good news was great for him. So.
Yeah.
I want to bring us back up with a funny moment. Going back to the documentary May It Last, one of my favorite, most funny parts of the film, I think, is when you're in that like green room, I think, at Judd Apatow's performance, and you sort of say, "Hey, can we get like 11 more people in here or something?" and so what I wanted to ask you is like, do you have that sarcastic wit all the time? Is that your vibe, or is that illuminating some pet peeves? Like which?
No. I mean, maybe discomfort.
Yeah,
and anxiety, and feeling claustrophobic for sure. But
I mean, you're thrust in those situations probably often where
God,
you're dealing with different venues and different settings and all kinds.
I'll tell you, being well rested and well fed is the key to getting through that with humor.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. But it's great. Then that was a great night. That was a really exciting night and a lot of fun. And so in that situation, it was funny. But I'm sure there have been moments we've been in with a record.
You have been on the road for many years, so I don't know how y'all do it, honestly.
Every experience you can imagine.
Well, it's a good thing that the funny one ended up on camera then, and not something else.
I got to tell you, well, I mean, we're human, right? But there aren't a whole lot of the other thing, but Judd really did us right. He really, he did my family extremely right for how sensitive that all was. And
oh my gosh,
they were very sensitive, because when you agree to something like that, there is it could go either way.
Mhm.
you know.
Almost
So,
like y'all are letting them chart the story and they found
man,
it.
you're giving up control.
Yeah.
So if you record a record, or if if there's a song and you're being vulnerable and exposing a real personal side of yourself, I mean, you're making that decision, and you're deciding how vulnerable you want to be, and what you
Mhm.
want to reveal and what you don't want to reveal. When you let a camera crew in to your life, you've given that away, and so you just have to give over give over to it, and that can be hard. That can be hard
You
to do, but they
you really
really
did an amazing job with that, though, because you can sense
they did.
all the band members that talked about that time and everything that happened and how much they really cared and
Yeah.
care about each other, and
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
you
yeah.
guys are a family.
We absolutely are. 100%.
Do people ever call you Bob Avett, thinking
No.
you're an Avett brother? No?
No, I think I'm a little dark and hairy to be I'm if I grew a beard, you'd know it, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. Right.
Jerry Garcia.
Nice.
Speaking of Jerry Garcia,
Oh, yeah.
I have a that was a good segue right there.
Okay, well, that's,
Uh,
what I do.
another fan question. This is from Michael Gans.
Mhm.
He said, "I was at what is commonly referred to as the Jerry Show in
Oh, love it.
2016.
Yes.
The band and Warren Haynes played 2 hours of Jerry Grateful Dead songs. I don't think
Yes.
I've ever seen you. This is his words.
Greatest.
I don't think I've ever seen you have more fun on
Mm.
stage.
Yeah.
Could you talk about that experience, your love of the Grateful Dead, and if that type of thing could ever happen again?"
Well, happen again is probably not super likely, but I was ready to take it on the road after we did it, and I was ready
Right.
to absorb Warren
Side
into
hustle.
absorb Warren into the band, and just let's just do this for a year, 2 years. But what I'll say about that is yes, I was just over the moon about it. And you talked about us being a family, and that came to us, and they agreed. Scott and Seth agreed to do it for me.
Very cool.
Amazing.
And they not only agreed to do it as a just like, yeah, let's do this. They were serious about it, and so we found versions of the songs and made books of the transcriptions. Like, we transcribed the songs, and we had rehearsal books, these Jerry Garcia rehearsal books. And we started, that was in October, I think, was when that show took place. In the fall, we started in early August, and we would have rehearsals just of those songs, just of those songs. And there are songs that from that we played, like Forever Young. I think we did that for a long time, and I Shall Be Released, I think we still do
Mhm.
that. And we talk about playing Mission in the Rain again. Hopefully we will. We've talked about it recently, so hopefully that comes back up. It is it takes a little rehearsal time to get that one, but I tell the guys no one else is playing that song, so we should play it every
Definitely.
night. So yeah, so that yes, that was just I will, there's the things. I think some of the things that I'll never forget, or that I just cherish the memories of, are the things that are not so are not about, like, the Avett Brothers, specifically about our music or our career. Like, I will always remember us doing the Grammys with Bob Dylan, or
Mm,
playing with Bob Weir, and or that show, or sitting on this playing with Willie Nelson, or sitting on the side of the stage watching Willie Nelson. Like,
Mhm.
those are the things that are truly, you know, they get in the memory, the fond memory loop. Um, and I think I'll remember them and tell those stories, as a much older man than I am today. And it's not like the make or break moment of our career. Like, if there ever wasn't, I don't think there is a really make or break moment for our career, but it's, there was a time when we were on the, we felt like we were probably on the train. Yeah, we were reaching for something, like, to be more and bigger and better and better and better at some point. And that isn't the case anymore. We are very comfortable in the space that we've created, and you've all created we've all created together. And so, so when I think about the Willie stuff or the Dead stuff or Bob Weir, that's the stuff that, just you really cherish.
That's awesome. Now,
Without
when
doubt.
looking at this year's tour so far, you guys have kind of dug deep with the set list. You're playing a lot of older stuff mixed with the new stuff, of course. Is that deliberate this year that you're playing a lot more older stuff?
Well, last year, you need to realize that last year we had a record come out.
Right.
And in 20 plus years, we had never put out a record, played the songs from the record, and toured starting at the beginning of the year.
Mhm.
I Am Loving You came out. I think we had like 3 or 4 shows left in the year. Like we're just really bad at this stuff. and we got it right like we really worked hard to make it land at the beginning of the touring year and to have a fixed set with movable parts that featured the songs on the record. So that's what last year was all about. So this year feels like we are reaching back. We're reaching back deep, and I expect that to continue.
Awesome. It's been amazing to see
It's
the
been
set
great.
list so far this year.
I'll tell you that the Capitol Theater shows and the Red Bank, and man, I just really felt and I don't think this a lot. I don't even think this way about what we do, but I felt like, man, this is historic for us. Like these shows are like this is a good place. We're at a good age. We've got the catalog. And we're just in a good place, and it just feels very good. It feels very patient, and it feels very good.
We weren't going to ask this, but I have to ask it.
Please.
Will same Broken Bones be played live at some point?
I don't know. Sure, I guess at some point.
It's the only one from the new record that hasn't been played live.
Yeah, I guess so. I can't.
We had this dumb joke for the last year of like
It's been
same
going
Broken
on for a
Bones
while.
watch.
Yeah. Maybe it will. Maybe maybe it will.
So what's your input on set lists? Do you get to pick songs, or
it will
let them take care of it, or
I let them take care of it. Yeah. I'll make comments, but right now it's been, and for the past couple of years it's been where it just kind of develops with one of them or the other of them, and then we make changes throughout.
Can I suggest something?
Yeah, absolutely, you can.
You can totally ignore me. Ryan's gonna laugh at me for asking you this. So I'm gonna be at the Lafayette shows, Lafayette, New York, June 6th and 7th, right? I'll be right up front. I'll wave to you. You can say hi, but I'll have this Childers Crew hat on.
Yes.
In the crowd. I need Scott to play When You Learn live. Can you tell him that? I know he's never played it live before.
There may be a When You Learn learning curve.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Is Seth better at jumping on songs like that and learning them? Because he probably doesn't forget them.
No. I mean, no, we all forget. I mean, there's just a lot of songs. It's a lot of songs. And so if we want to play a song that we haven't done for years or before, like that needs to be rehearsed. And that's often in sound check, and it just depends on what's going on in that time period and in that day that determines,
Is that usually a one-day thing though, or is it sometime like I wonder?
It depends. Yeah.
We talked to Tanya, and she said she must have a photographic memory. She said she plays a song and it's in her brain for life, but I assume that cannot be the same for everybody.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that. She is probably the most raw talented, like as far or most professionally talented, most well-rounded talented, in the band, as far as like on the in the band.
Yeah, she literally said that if she plays a song once, it will always be in her head,
because she's been doing this since she was 3 years old.
Right. Yeah. Her whole life.
So there's just
you're not like that.
No. I'm practicing before the show. Like 2 hours before the show, I'm making sure I can remember how to play these songs.
One more fan question for you, because this will fit into what we're talking about here. Do you know Dan Zlotnick?
Give me
aware of
context.
Dan?
Give me context.
He's a singer-songwriter from New York City. Anyway, he's a good guy. He's a big fan of you guys. And he wanted to know that, do you put little marks on your bass so you know where you're supposed to put your fingers?
Yeah, I do. And not that I completely need them, but I have been off by a little enough times to finally just let's do this.
No shame, right? Yes.
No, there's no shame, because I want it to be right.
Right.
Yep.
Of course.
And I think my intonation overall has gotten better because of that. So yeah. Cool. Look, if you are a starting upright bass player, there's no shame in doing that. There's no shame in doing that, because being off on that instrument a little is being off a lot.
Yeah.
And I've done that, and I did it many, many times, and I got sick. I just got sick of it.
All right. So history. We've talked about history a little bit.
Okay.
Of course, you're a podcast host. Let's talk about your podcast that you have.
Sure.
To switch gears a little bit here. You're the host of Road to Now, co-host of Road to Now, a history podcast along with Ben Sawyer. Tell me about it. And I know it's been around for a while, and tons of listeners, and I know you like doing it.
Wow.
We recorded.
That's an accomplishment.
It is an accomplishment. We recorded this morning, and Ben, I knew we were like not May. I know May is like our anniversary month. And he said, we are starting our 10th year. And
wow,
that is insane. It is insane that we have kept this thing going. And again, we've kept it going because of people who listen.
Right.
There have been so many times that I have been like, we guys got so much going on. Like with Hallie's, when her cancer comes back, or all these things that have happened over the years, the big things like that, and then little things like just being tired, or whatever, just being like, well, we've done this for 6 years, we've done this for 7, but then you think about all the people that listen to it every week, and then we signed on with SiriusXM, and so now we can't quit. So it's great. Yeah, we're in a really again a good place with that too.
So we're up to 100 episodes. It's not quite the same, and I'm waiting for that call from SiriusXM.
How many years?
Just don't quit. Yeah.
How many years?
This is the third year. Third year.
Well, you got a little. You got to put more time in.
Yeah. Yep. I started it in December of 2022 with my first guest, Jim Avetts, and that was a good guest to have on, because he didn't stop talking the whole time.
and that's where the Avetts brothers started.
So it is.
Good point.
Yeah, it's good.
And we've gone way beyond the Avetts and beyond. So anyway,
I heard you're doing a new podcast.
Yes.
I recorded Road to Now today, and I recorded one of the new ones, American History Hotline, and I need everybody's help for this one. Okay, so this is with iHeart. This is the same group that I worked with on the John Quincy Adams podcast series, Founding Son. And it's called American History Hotline. And so all of you can record a voice memo or a video on your phone, and you can ask a history question. And, it could be Ryan from, you look like you're in Asheville or Grandfather Mountain or somewhere there. Ryan from Boone, North Carolina, and I'm wondering blah, 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 blah. And some question about American history, and you mail it. At some point we'll have a landing page and a web page probably, but at this point you email it to AmericanHistoryHotline@gmail.com. All one word spelled out. AmericanHistoryHotline@gmail.com. You could do this from all over the world. I heard somebody from Ireland wanted to send a question in, and they were like, "Oh, is there a phone number?" You don't need a phone number. You just need to record yourself on your phone with a voice memo or a video, and you ask your question, and you send it to AmericanHistoryHotline@gmail.com, and we will find the expert to answer we will find the answer to your question, and we will record an episode about it. And so the series launches.
Cool. I like that.
It's a lot. It's been a lot of fun. We did one today with about space travel, about the American about the moon landing.
Okay.
And it's going to be great. We've got several in the can. Again, it launches July 2nd. And so we are at least into it for 52 episodes. So send in your questions. We need your questions. Please send in your questions.
You have a very loyal fan base. People will support it. That's for sure.
Yes, we hope so, and hope
I
you
love
listen.
that.
And it's a lot of fun. It's about 30. They're about 30-minute episodes. They're shorter. They're
Wow, that's awesome.
digestible, and
Yep.
we have some great questions and some great guests, and I like the idea about people being a part of it. Like, you send in your question, you're a part of the episode. You're on the episode. So
I love that.
So where did your love of history come from?
I don't know. I remember 4th grade, we did New Jersey history, and my Miss Heisler was my 4th grade teacher, and she may have made her own clothes, but she may have been what we today call a historical interpreter, which I think she probably was. And so she really promoted about the Jersey Devil. If anybody knows about the story of the Jersey Devil, I think that was probably exciting. I remember when my mom, we had Smithville and Batstow, historic Batstow and Smithville near me, and my mom would take me to those. And then when we would go on our family vacations, you would go in the Stuckey's, right? Remember Stuckey's anyway? And there would be or the rest stops, and there would be the little kiosk with all the local pamphlets, like for all the historic sites.
Sure.
And I would collect those. And I would take a moment, I would lay them out on the floor and look at them. And I mean, that's where I think this came. That's where I think this came from. I know it sounds weird, but I mean, it's the truth.
What's weird is my wife still tries to prevent me from taking those pamphlets.
I love them.
I still do it.
I walked by recently, and I looked back at the kiosk, guys. I had to look back at it, and I was like, oh, yeah, it's crazy.
That's amazing.
So if you could travel back in time to any time in history, when would it be?
Oh, it would be the 1830s, 1840s, 1850s. Yeah, those decades leading up to the Civil War, because it was crazy. It was nuts. I mean, you think it's crazy now, and it is.
But
it was every bit as crazy then, and it was every bit as unsure of itself, and it was not. Nothing was. Everything worked kind of like, you can look at it. A lot of our history, and we're a mess. Democracy is always in crisis. That's kind of the whole deal with the experiment of democracy, and it's not worked out for a lot of people. A lot of times it's been, it's gone horrible for a lot of people, but it is, there was a British journalist in the 1830s who came to the United States. Her name was Harriet Martineau, and the Constitution was 50 years old at that point. And she said, if this nation and this Constitution only lasts for 50 years, it will be the greatest achievement of humankind. A self-governing people. Like, people don't understand with the United States. People are so down on democracy these days, but you got to imagine. Ken Burns said this last week, so I'm going to just copy what he said. But in the Bible, Ecclesiastes, they say there's nothing new under the sun. But for that moment, when this nation was founded, it was something new. A people had never ruled themselves before.
Right.
There was never a self-governance like we have today. And so it's easy to look at all the flaws of it and to be like, you know what? We just need to tear it down and start again. I'm telling you, if you tear down this government and you rip up this Constitution, you will not get anything like it ever again. It will be really hard to reclaim. It'll be ugly. in the attempt to do that, and people will not have the freedom or the aspiration of the freedom that this nation has provided its citizens for 250 years.
Your passion is
great
very
point.
evident in,
That is a
in
great
the way
point.
you talk about stuff like that.
Thank you.
We had a zinger, which is, would you ever run for office?
There was a time when it was inevitable that at some point I would always say, well, when Scott and Seth say we're done, when I am released from this brotherly commitment, then yes, I will serve my country if elected to an office. Now I don't know. I don't think I I don't think I would at this point. But however, if not me, then who? And we need people who care to run. We need people.
That's
who
the
care to
eternal
run.
question. Who's going to step up?
Who's going to step up? So, it's possible, but I mean, I'm less. I'm just tired. I don't know if I have the energy for it.
I hear you.
I think you should run for president.
I'll tell you something else too. When I walk out on stage with the band, pretty much everyone there is happy to see me.
Right.
There might be a few people who are not happy to see me. That is completely possible and probably true to some extent. But if I were to run for office, 50% of the people would immediately not like me anymore.
Yeah, it's so true. That does
right.
not sound like fun either.
No.
That's a great point.
Do you hear the crowd chanting when you come out that let Bob sing? What do you think of that?
Sometimes. I mean, I think it's great. I mean, it's great. Yeah. I'm thankful for it. It's sweet.
We got to do some rapid fire questions here too, but tell me first quickly. I know we're running out of time here.
Okay.
What does the Avid fan base mean to you?
Oh man, they mean everything because we wouldn't do this without you guys.
Right.
Look, I can only do we couldn't do what we do without the support we get and the world that you all have created around the music. And it is around the music. And
Mm-hmm.
there is a sense that the music is bigger than us.
Mm.
There is that is understood. I believe that is understood. And so we couldn't do that. And if I didn't do what I do in the band, I wouldn't have the time to think of studying history or having podcasts. It would all be, it would be hard. It would be hard. I wouldn't be able to do it. So yeah, it all comes down to the fans. Look, and I haven't even gotten to what you've done for my family. The support for Hallie, for pediatric cancer, for lifting us up. We don't do all the press on stuff. You guys do all the press on stuff.
Right.
Our life is too complicated. I'm not organizing benefits. You guys are organizing benefits, like you look what you did for David over the past couple months to support him. That is.
Thank you for helping with that, by the way.
Well, of course, yeah. I'll do whatever I can for him. But I mean, not only the gestures and the kindness, and when Hallie got sick, and all the prayer blankets, and all the sweet gestures and that kind. And I left the band for a year, for the better part of a year. And what in what world is that possible? To do that, and then to come back, and it's insane, and I always remember that, and I'm always appreciative for that. And there was a time when I didn't want to come back, or I didn't know what I didn't. Not that I didn't want to come back, I didn't know how I could rejoin the party.
Yeah,
right. Because you're all there celebrating.
Gets heavy.
Party.
Oof. Yeah.
And then I'm leaving St. Jude, where there's a hospital full of sick kids, and I'm coming to a party, and there is my friend Will Acuff wrote a book. We just interviewed him today for The Road to Now. It's kind of outside of our historic purview, but it's Will, and he's a really good friend of both Ben and I. And he wrote a book, and to put it back there, it's No Elevator to Everest. And he has a special needs child. And what he's done in this, reading his book and listening to it on Audible, it was very comforting to me because a lot of he's incredibly vulnerable in it. And a lot of the interpersonal conflicts in his family that rise, like the stress and the anxiety and the fear of having a special needs child, and how that is hard on all the relationships in the family, and how it crushes all of your hopes and dreams for your child and for the life of your family, and what you think that could possibly be, and what at one point you imagine it will be, and then there's a before. And he said this today, and this, I very much relate to this. There's a before and there's an after, and it's really, you can be in your bitterness, and then you have to choose not to be in your bitterness. You have to consciously pull yourself out of it and find other ways to cope with it and deal with it and see it and put it in perspective. And so there was a time where, I was doing my job, but I was really in my bitterness. And I got a letter from someone who had an email, and who had been diagnosed with a brain tumor. And, I can't, and I'll be honest with you, I don't remember if it was a he or she at this point, because it was early days for all of this. And they were like, I have surgery on Tuesday, but I'm coming to see you tonight and to see you on stage. And, I feel represented. And then after the documentary came out, we had people, because we showed us giving our daughter medicine in her G-tube. And, that is second nature for us, getting her up every day and getting her dressed and changing her and bathing her. And that is the rhythm. Every family, you have this rhythm of your life, right? You have the rhythm of life, and that is part of the rhythm of our lives. And it is really insane to step back and just to forget that is not, like, to have imagined that before all of this happened, that would be the rhythm of your life. It just seemed, you don't even think about it, and then it becomes your reality. And so I say all of this just to say, like, it's because of the love of all you guys that pulled me kind of back in and helped me heal, to accept that I can be a part of the celebration. I don't always feel like being in the celebration. There have been times like it's the last show before her scans, and I'm just thinking about the scans.
Right.
But I have a job to do.
Ooh.
And so, but then there's the times where everything's great, and it's just great, and I'm just I'm there with all of you. Then there's the times where something happens to one of you guys, and we hear about that, or we meet someone who's going through something, and it, I feel connected.
There is a connection. Like, you guys are a family.
Yeah.
The fan base is a family, and together we're all like a big family. It's I love it. I've never seen anything like it before.
There's nothing else like it. There's nothing else like it. Like what
I'll tell you, my wife and I count some of our closest friends now as people we've met through you.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, there's no other way to put it.
We hear that a lot. And we hear, we receive the emails. We get them. We see them. And Scott, so we were in Capitol Theater, and there was this like flood of tragedy. And we couldn't address all of it. It was just impossible. And so Scott made a statement that was hopefully overarching and embraced everybody at the same time. But it's become a big part of our job. It's a
lot to carry
in the best way. Yeah, but yes, we carry a lot. I know others who carry more. I know
Yeah.
others, like as fatiguing and challenging and frightening and glorious and as my family's existence is. I know others who have more. It's just there's always that scale. There's always
Yeah.
the person who's cruising, and there's always the person who's really in it. And so the person who's cruising today is the person who's in it today, and then the person who was cruising is in it, and the person who was in it is in a better place, is in a good place. Like it just this is what we're this is this is literally the meaning of life. Like this is literally existence, is being present to your joy and your suffering. Sometimes it's easier to be present to your suffering than to your joy. But that is, I do think that is like the essence, and that is why I can say that this is bigger than us as individuals. The music is bigger because I think it represents something that is eternal and is just bigger than Scott Avett as a guy, or Seth Avett as a guy, or Bob Crawford as a guy, or Joe Quan as a guy. And
I'm just happy I found it.
That's a great
Found this
perspective.
place, man.
Oh yeah.
That was beautiful. Can we end with some rapid fire questions here?
please.
All right. What's your go-to karaoke song?
I haven't done, you know what? I did karaoke a long, long time ago when I didn't want to do karaoke, but I think I would enjoy it more now.
You don't have a go-to song that you
I don't,
always
because I
dreamed of?
haven't done it, but
Mm,
it would be an 80s song. It would be an
okay.
80s song.
Good
All
call.
right. Favorite type
My-
of pizza? Topping type of pizza even?
Well, we do the crumbled sausage a lot, but
Ooh,
I'm the only one in my family unit who likes the Hawaiian with the
Oh no.
ham and the pineapple.
I love
And I love it. Love it.
I
And
used
I,
to.
I also like I like this, like the white pizzas now, like the
Oh, yeah.
spinach and
Me
the
too.
what. Yeah, I like that a lot.
We're on the same wavelength.
Yeah, man. What's
pizza-wise. I like
pizza?
that.
You can't go wrong.
Well, right.
Yeah.
All right. Favorite late night snack on the tour bus?
Peanut butter pretzels.
Nice.
I had some of
Peanut
those last
butter
night.
pretzels. Oh my gosh, they will
You get like
be.
a big jug of them, or
We have like 3 or 4 on our bus, and they will probably be what causes my final end. Be like, he ate it was the peanut butter pretzels. Did him.
you go out happy, right? Go
Oh
out
man,
happy.
I love them. They are I've gotten to the point where I have not bought them at home for a while because I eat so many of them on the road. Yeah.
So that'll be on your gravestone
Save 'em
someday.
for that.
I love
Peanut
them.
butter pretzels did him in.
Love them. That's right. Yeah.
Are you a candy guy?
No, thank
No
God.
candy? Okay.
I do like chocolate. I like dark chocolate, but I'm not a candy. Yeah, I'm not a candy
That's
bar.
good. Good.
Yeah, I
That's
like the
good.
bars of the chocolate. Yeah.
Same. I like all candy, but anyway,
Mm.
favorite movie of all time?
Why am I thinking Casablanca? Because I don't know if it is, but it's close. It's a Wonderful Life.
That's a good one.
Good
Yeah,
one.
I
Right,
like
that's
that.
it. It's a Wonderful Life. Yeah.
Favorite song to play?
Man, gee willikers. It's just different all the time. It's like mood and moment, and I can't. When you asked me to suggest songs or pick songs,
Yeah.
I could have just been really random. I mean, I tried to think like
It's
I
hard to
picked
narrow it
I
down.
picked the Bob Dylan song because that I remember buying that cassette at Sound Odyssey at the Shore Mall, and 87 they came at 86 87, and I was probably a sophomore junior in high school, and that I knew Bob Dylan and I liked Bob Dylan, but that's where I kind of got in. I got
Nice.
in
Yeah.
then on that, which is kind of a random album to get in on. So
It became
and
your
that
Bob
song,
Dylan. Yeah.
I heard Brownsville Girl, and I had never heard anything, and there is nothing else like it. But that was the moment, like, and I think I got that and Tom Waits at the same time, like Tom Waits' greatest hits, or Tom Waits anthology.
Yeah.
And I got it because of Jersey. It was the only one I could find Jersey Girl on it, if I'm not mistaken. I apologize if I'm wrong, but I think so. And Yeah, and that was that. Both of those purchases were pretty important. Pretty important.
That's cool. So I'm not going to go into the whole song thing now because I don't want to keep you much longer here. But I'm going to throw a YouTube playlist together of your
Okay.
songs and put it
Okay.
out there. So
Sounds great.
we'll hear them that way.
Okay.
Last question: your favorite Avet? Which brother is better?
Me.
Will you put that out there? Oh, there we go.
Great answer.
Bob Avet, of
Nice
course.
save.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Bob, for coming on. We really appreciate
Yes.
it. I will see you in Lafayette on June 6th and 7th, where Scott will play When You Learn.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I will mention it, but
Okay.
I would take it for what it is. When I say my favorite Avet, I mean Bob Avet is my favorite. Bob Avet puppet
Well, there you
is
go.
my
Nice.
favorite Avet. So there you
Okay.
go. Puppet Bob.
The
Are the
Avetts.
puppets coming back this year?
Have to wait and see.
He's sworn to secrecy.
Have to wait and see.
Secretive. All right.
All right.
We'll look forward to that.
I'm going to take that as a definite maybe.
Yeah.
Definite maybe. All right, Bob. Thank you so much.
Thank
Go
you
check
so
out
much,
the
Bob.
podcast, The Road to Now, the new one, American History Hotline. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And that email.
This will air Friday night. Never mind. Okay. I'm hosting, and this is just for you guys. And you guys edit this? Do you edit this?
Yeah.
Okay. Because this is just not going to be time relevant. I'm guest hosting Michael Smirkani's program Friday morning.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Again, like I did it a few weeks ago. I'm doing it again. So,
But
but
you've done that in
it'll
the
be too
past,
late.
right?
I did it 3 times over Christmas week. In 2020, I did it, and it was the first time I did it, and it was really deer in the headlights for that. But then I did it a few weeks ago, and I really enjoyed it. And then he asked me to do it for Friday.
Awesome.
So I'm looking forward to it. But I would say it if it could be promoted, but it can't be promoted. So all good.
No,
So you guys,
I'll edit that out for you. But
all good.
All right. Thank you, Bob, so much. We'll see you down the road, and maybe we'll get you back on here someday.
I will come back on.
Awesome.
I enjoyed this.
See you soon, Bob. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.